So there's this idea out there. Now I really look like a toxic masculinity here, puffing on I need a big glass of whiskey or something. There's an idea out there that men, they want one thing and it's disgusting. That men, their ideal partner is a much, much younger bimbo. Some girl who's got nothing in between the ears, who just exists as a kind of extension of the male id, his darkest fantasies, and who's like 20 or something. Well, it turns out, there's a report out from the Institute for Family Studies that is not true. And the headline I think is actually a little bit misleading, but the headline says, high status men are attracted to ambitious women. So it says, you're probably familiar with the common argument, men would prefer an attractive younger woman over an ambitious woman close to their age. This argument suggests that when given a choice, men don't prefer to marry women with career ambitions. I actually don't think it suggests that, but that's an interpretation of the author of the piece. Well, the Institute for Family Studies used data on almost 1.5 million married men in the U.S. 2019 to 2023 and their wives and found out, no, that's not true. Turns out that men with the most relationship options, that means wealthier men, higher social status men, marry women who are close to them in age and with high educational attainment. And that the relationships with large age gaps are more common for low-income men than for high-income men. Far from being a sign of wealth, marrying a much younger woman is associated with men who struggle to find a partner until later in life. So the real story is simpler. What almost everyone wants in a marriage partner is someone who shares their outlook on the world. If you're an ambitious striver, you're probably interested in marrying an ambitious striver. Or, and this is crucial, or somebody complementary to one. So this is where I think the headline gets it totally wrong. It says that if you're a professionally ambitious man with high educational attainment, though we'll get to the value of educational attainment momentarily when we talk about Gen Z. But if you're that kind of guy, you're going to want a woman who's exactly the same. But that's not actually what the study finds. It finds that you either want someone who is like that, that's the lib men in that category, or you want a woman who is complementary to that. That's the right option. That's what you really need. Because if you're a workaholic, if you're a guy, very professionally ambitious, you work long hours, if you have a wife who's like that, then no one's with your kids. So either you won't have kids or your kid is going to be raised at the daycare or with the nanny forever. You're going to neglect your kids. It's not going to work. But that doesn't mean that you have to marry a woman who's nothing like you. You can marry a woman who has high educational attainment, who is quite ambitious, but whose ambition is complementary. It's a different kind of ambition. The ambition of the men is to be generally like men are, and the ambition of the women is to be generally like women are. And it understands that men and women are different. But why is this? This kind of contradicts the Andrew Tate view of the world, that men don't want to get married. Marriage has nothing for men. Men don't want a woman who's close to their age. Men want a young bimbo, basically. It seems to me, though I'm not super familiar with his view of life, that seems to me what he's saying. But that actually isn't borne out in the surveys. So why is it? Well, it goes back to old Aristotle is why. It goes back, forget about having a girlfriend. It goes back to just having a friend. Aristotle understands friends to be like another self. A true friend is like another self. That's what Aristotle says. And that sounds navel-gazing and selfish, and it doesn't really need to be. As Aristotle also famously says, there are three kinds of friends. Friendships of pleasure, you like the same stuff. Friendships of utility, where it's networking, where you convenience, transactional, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And then true friendship, which is friendship of the good, where it's two people who see the world in the same way, who are both pursuing some good that is external to them. And which is why, with a true friend, sometimes you can finish each other's sentences. You can have whole conversations you barely speak, because you know exactly where the other person's coming from. And in a good marriage, in a true marriage, in a Christian marriage, it's going to be like that. I don't like that sappy line that you sometimes hear at weddings. Oh, I married my best friend. I think, no, hold on. I have my best friend. My best friend is like Billy or whatever, Bob. He's my best friend. And I have my wife. And I don't need to go out, to the pool hall or whatever kids do these days. I don't need to go to the cigar bar with my wife. and go to the cigar bar with my buddy. I'll go to my home or on a romantic dinner with my wife. But I'm overselling it a little bit. A good wife really should be a friend. It should be someone who looks at the world the same way, who is virtuous, who is pursuing the good, and who is another self. Because the looks are going to fade. And if you ditch your wife, or if you do the Andrew Tate thing, you don't even have a wife. If you just ditch these women after they turn 25, the Leonardo DiCaprio strategy, well, you're going to wind up lonely. You're going to wind up awful lonely because you won't have another self. And you won't have true friendship because true friendship has to be grounded in virtue. It can't just be transactional. It can't just be about ephemeral pleasures. You're going to be missing out on the fullness of a human experience. So it's true, sometimes these people say, well, in the animal kingdom, the man just bangs anything that moves, pardon my vulgar language, but we're talking about the animal kingdom, so I guess it should be kind of vulgar. In the animal kingdom, the alpha has a harem of females and then moves on when it's no longer, right, yeah, if you want to be like a gorilla, be like a gorilla. But human beings don't have to be like that because we are like animals in that we are bodies, but we're like angels in that we're rational. We, unlike gorillas, can reason about justice and friendship and charity and all the rest of it. So you can do that. You can debase yourself to be like a gorilla, but I don't recommend it. You don't have to. You're a human being. And most people, the vast majority of people throughout history, they seem to be on the human side of things. Go to goodranchers.com, use code Knowles, Knowles. Summer's here. Nothing beats firing up the grill with your friends and your family, but what might shock you is that over 85% of the grass-fed beef in the U.S. stores is actually imported. That meat on your barbecue, it could be from anywhere with questionable safety standards and hidden additives that you can't even pronounce. You might be making pangolin burgers for all you know. That's one reason to switch to Good Ranchers right now. The other reason, the best reason to switch to Good Ranchers is that it is the best meat you're going to get, period. It's just the tastiest, most delicious meat. And it's shockingly inexpensive. I don't know how they do it. That CFO must be balding and ripping his shirt every day because it's just such a great product and the price is so affordable. Every single cut, beef, chicken, pork, 100% American sourced, born, raised right here on local family farms. No antibiotics ever, no added hormones, no seed oils, just pure clean meat that tastes incredible on the grill. Great, beautiful chicken nuggets, no seed oils in them. Good luck finding that. It's just unbelievable, folks. I had a Good Ranchers New York strip the other night. It was better than a steak I had at a steakhouse a few days later. Much better, actually. Right now, go to goodranchers.com, code Knowles, $40 off plus free meat for life, because the moments that matter deserve meat that is made right. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Why is it that a quarter of Gen Z workers regret attending college? This, according to a new survey by Resume Genius, 23% of full-time Zoomer workers regret attending college. 19% say their degree did not contribute to their career. Some of you are going to be saying, well, I'd expect the number to be higher. It should be 75% regret going to college. But a quarter is a lot, especially when you consider that a lot of these kids went into debt to go to college. Some of them took out hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to go get a degree in marketing or a degree in political science or something at whatever, Palookaville College. And then they come out and they get a job and they regret going. Why? Well, it's that second part there. It's like 19% say their degree did not contribute to their career. The reason they have regret, almost the same number. More regret it than admit this, but a full 1 in 5 almost say their degree didn't contribute to their career, is because they went in with bad expectations. I've said this before, I'll say it again, though it's not popular. The purpose of a university education is not to learn how to do a job. It's not to get a career. It's not to learn any particularly useful skill. It's to read dusty old books and think in the abstract and ultimately to make sense of your freedom. At a deep level, the purpose of a university education is not for the 8 to 14 hours a day that you're going to spend working. It's for all the other hours. It's for your leisure time. It's what to do when you are not obligated to work, when you are free. This is why we call it the liberal arts. and it helps you to become free. This is like, what we have today in colleges is like, it's like Christian rock. I know I'm going to offend some listeners, but I hate Christian rock. I hate it. I hate it so much. And it's like Christian rock, because the idea of Christian rock is, hey, if we meld these two things that are not alike one another at all, we're going to make both of them better. But that's not really what happens. Christian rock is actually diminishing both of Christianity and rock music. Christian rock is like the worst of both worlds. It's not, Christian rock is not better than any other rock music of like caliber. It's not better. And Christian rock is not nearly as good as any other kind of Christian music ever written. Going back to the first century, it's not better. It's just, it makes it all worse. So today, we have these universities that are in practice trade schools. But unlike actual trade schools, they don't really teach you a trade. And unlike actual universities, you don't read the great books. And you don't, at least don't read them seriously, and don't read them in a way that gives you an integrated sense of the world, such that what you learn in physics tells you something about what you learn in English, which tells you something about what you learn in math, which tells you something about what you learn in philosophy, which ultimately should tell you something about what you learn in theology, which is the queen of the sciences. And there, you don't even study theology almost any of the time now. Kind of crazy. University, I mean, this is the argument made by St. John Henry Newman in The Idea of a University, but the university purports to be an institution of universal knowledge, and at best, modern universities ignore the source and summit of all knowledge, God, and usually they criticize God or mock God, or so what do they can't seriously purport to universal knowledge. So yeah, no wonder these kids regret their education. It was a waste. But it didn't have to be a waste. It's not a waste for the reason they think it is. Modern university education is not a waste because it doesn't affect your career. Modern education is a waste because it doesn't affect the rest of your life. And by affecting the rest of your life, by the way, it should also affect your professional career, because it should allow you to see the world differently and impel you to act differently within it. Big waste. Expect that number to go up, by the way, in the coming years. That was a great clip. Now stop, ring the bell, subscribe. We'll see you next time.